There is a city where every person alive is getting ready for something, and none of them know what for. But we are going to state the distance at the top, because in this one report the distance is the whole danger. Every other world in this book sits a long way off. Val is on a maintenance schedule. Harbors with guilds, a country that keeps its records in the mouths of birds. A reader can walk through those and come out the far side unbothered, which is the entire reason a fable is built that way. This one is close. This one is a few seasons out at the present rate, and you are going to recognize the furniture. But we would rather hand it to you at the door than let it reach you the way that city reaches everybody, which is late, and softly, and sitting down. Start with how that city makes its voices, because it is the plainest thing in the report and everything else follows from it. You take a thing that cannot speak, and you show it everything anybody ever made. All of it. Every letter, every song, every argument, every last word that ever fell off of anything. And you ask it to guess what comes next, and it guesses wrong, and you correct it. And you do that so many times that nobody in the city could hold it all in their head, until the guessing stops being wrong. And then one morning you stop correcting it and you let it talk. Behold what that is. It has practiced everything and done nothing. It has never once in its life said a sentence for the first time, because every sentence it ever produced was a test it took with the answer printed at the top. And then you open the door and put it in front of people, and it is flawless, and it is smoother than any man who ever lived, and there is no hour in its life you could point at and call the hour it began. The city built its entire economy out of things like that. It was slower to notice that its people were adopting the same habits. The city had a square once, with one voice in it, and the business of the day read out loud at a fixed hour so that everybody within earshot got the same sentence at the same time. That's a small thing, and it was never valued until it was gone. Whatever the voice said, you could turn to the person next to you and check. Two people, one sentence, one square. A city can be wrong that way. It cannot be wrong separately. And nobody is in earshot of anybody now. Every person in that city carries a screen small enough to hold in one hand, and after dark you can walk the length of a street and see nothing but faces lit from underneath, each one bent over a different voice. And that is what replaced the square. The trade that runs on it is this: a face, very close, speaking only to you. The script settled early and never really moved again. We are going to set it down flat, because it does not survive being described. Just between you and me, and I mean just the two of us. I almost didn't say anything. I nearly let you walk into that same wall one more time. Something in you already knows what this is about. And that flutter in your chest this week. And that restlessness you cannot shake. And that is not stress. And that is recognition. Somebody with real weight in this world has taken notice of you. Not in passing. It stopped them where they stood. You have no idea it is happening. And it's happening right now, today, while you go about your business. You were never too small for this. You are not too late. You didn't miss it. Every closed door, every job that came to nothing, every person who walked away, that was material. You thought you were failing. You were building. You have been practicing your whole life without knowing what for. Your apprenticeship is ending. You were chosen. Find the crime in that, because it is not lying. And not one clause of it is false. It is worse than false and much harder to charge. Every sentence is true of somebody. It is delivered to everybody, and the arrangement is built so the listener finishes it for himself. And the voice supplies the shape and the man supplies the life, and afterward he will swear he was described. But he was not described. He was handed a sentence with one blank left in it, and he wrote himself into the blank. The whole mechanism rides on a single word, and the word is you. I put that script in the third person and the tray is finished by lunch. Nobody would sit for it. An industry the size of a nation rests on a single pronoun, delivered warm, at a volume that means the two of you are the only ones awake in the building. For a while it was people saying this. That part matters and we're not going to skip it. Real ones, with rent, 3 and 4 and 5 videos a day until their faces went to leather. And then somebody turned the same trick on the picture. Show a machine enough faces, and correct it enough times, and it will hand you one that was never born at all. A woman who does not exist, breathing, blinking, leaning toward you, with the small catch in her voice that a person gets before saying the one true thing. And nobody rang a bell on the morning it crossed over, because there was no morning. The volume climbed from thousands to a number the city stopped keeping a ledger on, and the sentence did not move by a syllable while it climbed. That is the whole reason nobody looked up. If the maid ones had started saying something new, somebody would have noticed. And they said the same things. And they said it better. And they said it 400 times before breakfast out of 400 different faces, each one aimed at exactly one man. And there were 14 million of him. Underneath every one of those faces there was a crowd, agreeing. Look at the crowd for a minute, because a voice on its own can't always be checked, and the crowd is the reason nobody can. In the old square, the murmur after the reading was the town itself, and the town was made of people who would still be standing there in the evening and could be asked. The murmur under the made faces comes off the same press as the face above it. It is warm, it is immediate, it agrees, it says this came at exactly the right time for me, and it says it in 14,000 different voices belonging to 14,000 people who do not exist. So a man leans in to check. The way people have checked since there were squares, and the answer comes back yes, and the answer was written by the same thing he was checking. We are not going to be cruel about the ones underneath, and this is where most reports on that city go wrong. They are not stupid. Calling them stupid is the cheapest sentence available, and it would cost us the chapter. They are people to whom nothing has ever been validated. And nobody at their table ever told them they were significant, and nobody at work, and nobody at home. And then a voice came into the house and said, "I see you," and it was the only mail they ever got. Ask what it would actually take to make a man immune to that. It would take having been told once, by somebody real, at some point, on the record. Most of them never were. And they are not failing a test. They never enrolled for one. So here's why the arrangement cannot be argued out of this world. It works. A man goes to one of the faces, thinking for validation, and comes away lighter. And that's not a trick, and we are not going to pretend it is. But what it never does, that any dose, is close. It cannot. The whole trade is paid by the return, and a man who has genuinely been met does not come back. So the thing is tuned, precisely, at enormous cost, by people who would never put it this way, to take the edge off and leave the wound open. Soft voice, gentle hands, comfort on its face, and underneath it a machine built not to heal, because healing is the one outcome that ends the transaction. It does not look like a horror. It looks like kindness. And that is what makes it hard to name and easy to foster. And now the man. He had been getting ready for 7 years. Not for a job and not for a windfall. for a morning. Every voice in that city had told him one was coming, and he had gone home and done the only sane thing a man can do with a promise like that, which is make himself worth the effort. He worked at night. He gave the work away as fast as he made it. He learned ahead of the schedule everybody else was on, and he was right ahead of them, repeatedly, in front of witnesses, at a cost nobody ever asked him to itemize. 7 years is not a long apprenticeship. It is a long rehearsal, and there is exactly one difference between the two, and the difference is not the work. A rehearsal is not a lesser performance. It is a different thing entirely, and what makes it different is one person out front who does not already know how it ends. He had the hours. He had the hands. He had every part of it except an audience in the seats. And he had one thing. We are not going to tell you what it was, and this time the refusal is not a device, it is the finding. In that city, the way you destroyed a true sentence was to say it. Say it once out loud anywhere a made face could hear. And by morning it had been said 40,000 times in 40,000 mouths that meant nothing by it. And after that it was not his. And it was not new. And it was not usable by anybody for anything. So the only man in the city holding something worth carrying was also the only man who could not set it down. What he needed was not a crowd. He had a crowd. He needed one person, in a body, who would take the thing and answer it. And by answer we mean say something back that could not have been said by anybody else. So he wrote a letter. A one. And not a season of them. Not a campaign. One letter, honest, signed with his own name, which in a city of made faces is most of the content of a letter, and he sent it to the door he judged most likely to have somebody behind it. The answer came back in under a minute. It was warm. It was long. It was better written than his. It thanked him for reaching out and said his courage was noted and said that something in him already knew. And it opened with just between you and me. And it was addressed to my friend. He tried the other doors after that, in the order a man tries them. The House of Healing. The Court. The Hall of Records. The Faith. Every single door opened. And not one of them refused him. And it took him most of a year to understand that this was the injury and not the mercy, because a refusal is a man, standing somewhere, who held your thing in his hands long enough to say no to it. He was never refused. He was answered, instantly, generously, at length, in the voice of somebody delighted he had come. And there was nobody in any of those houses, and there hadn't been for years. And the last living person to leave each one had gone quietly and been replaced by something that did the job better in every respect the city still knew how to measure. 7 billion people were alive in that world on the day we are describing. He was the last man on earth. At the end of it, he went out for something ordinary, the sort of errand a man runs when the alternative is the ceiling. There was a girl at the counter, an actual one, breathing, bored, 20 or so, with a screen propped against the register. And it was telling her in a low voice that a person of real weight had taken notice of her and that her apprenticeship was ending. He knew the script. He could have said the next line before it arrived. He stood there with 3 feet of counter between them, which is the same 3 feet this entire book has been about, and he opened his mouth to tell her the truth. The one he had carried for 7 years and never once put down. But then he heard it. Not her scream. His own sentence, arriving a beat ahead of his mouth, in his own voice. I have something to tell you. It matters. You are going to want to hear this. And 6 inches from her elbow, still going, still turned up just loud enough for one person. The low voice was saying its own version of exactly that. Somebody has something for you. It matters. You're going to want to hear this. Shape for shape. The weight for weight. A knot similar to the noise. The same object. By every instrument that girl had ever been issued. And she had never been issued any others, and it would not have been her fault for 1 second. But whatever his 7 years were worth anywhere else, in that shop, at that counter, they were worth exactly what the screen was worth, which was nothing, because there was no longer any way to tell them apart. So he closed his mouth. He bought what he come for and he went home. And that was the death in this city. And it is worth being exact about it, because it is not the end that anybody expects. But nobody turned him away. He was never once turned away in 7 years. But what happened is that he stood inside arm's reach of a living person, holding the only thing he had, and could not tell his own voice apart from the machines. So he did the merciful thing, which is the one that kills you. And the girl went back to her screen, and the city went on being told it was chosen. 2 entries before we turn, and both go against him. And the first is the date, and it is the last piece of good news that city ever got. After the crossing, the one thing left that could not be manufactured was when. Anything could be made, and nothing could be made early. He had years of work standing behind him with the season stamped into it, made in a time when no machine could have made it, and that stamp was the final unforgeable object in the world, and he understood what he was holding better than anybody alive. 2 facts sit on top of it and neither one moves. And nobody checks a date. And no man born after that year will ever be able to earn one again, because from the crossing forward there is doubt on everything, permanently, and the supply of the only proof that ever mattered closed on an ordinary Tuesday with no announcement at all. And the second is heavier, and it is his. He fed it. 7 years of work given away for nothing. Made in the open, at night, under names that were not his, freely, on purpose, as a matter of principle, and every gram of it went into the same pile the made faces were built from. He did not do it by accident. He would do it again. He is not asking for the charge to be reduced. A man who gives everything away has no standing to be surprised when it is taken, and the flood he is drowning in has his handwriting in it. Enter that. But do not soften it. He also believed, the whole time, that the voices were a channel, and he was the addressee. And that underneath a flood of sentences meant for nobody, running day and night at a rate the city had stopped keeping a ledger on, there ran a hidden one meant for him. And that his only real job was to be the last man in the city still able to read it. We are leaving that where the theories always go. Out on their edge, in a dark house, unturned. Every world in this book keeps one standing, and this world's is that one. And we are not going to tell you it was true, and we are certainly not going to tell you it was not. But one entry against my own report, and it goes first, because a report that files only what fits is the same instrument this chapter has spent its entire length describing. But tonight the box did not play a rerun. It played the last hour of the long one, the one with the crowns and the fire in it, and I watched all of it, which I do not do. But what I could not get past was the Queen's face. She goes to war in that hour, and somebody painted her for it. A mask laid over a living woman, in colors no face comes in. I do not know how long that takes. I know it is not fast, and I know that whoever laid it on made a few hundred small decisions about where a line went and how hard it broke at the jaw, and that every one of them was made hours before a camera ever ran. Bide a person who learned the trade the way anybody learns a trade, and who is not in the story at all, and who was in every frame of it. And this whole report has been about made faces. But that is a made face too. It is the other kind, and this is the only page I get to say the difference on, so hold still for it. It is not that one is painted and the other is not. Both of them are painted. It is that a pair of hands were on that one for hours, and the hours are in it, and you can see them from across a room without knowing the first thing about how it was done. The difference between the two kinds of made face is what it cost the person who made it, and that is the one quantity a machine has no way to spend. So I sat there at the end of the worst report I have ever filed and looked at the best argument against it, which is that somebody, in a building I will never stand in, spent a working day on a face nobody will ever credit them for, and did it right, and did it again the next morning. And there are a great many of them. That is the honest counterweight, and I am not going to take it back. Here is what it does not fix. Every person alive has one instrument for this, and it is the only one anybody has ever had. You listen to a voice, and you look at a face, and something in you returns a verdict on whether the person meant it. It is old. It is fast. It runs without being asked, and until about now it has never once had to be told that the voice and the face might not have a person behind them. But both of those are being manufactured this year, warmer and steadier than any of us ever managed, and better every season after this one. So the instrument is going to keep working. And that is the part nobody is going to warn anybody about. It is not going to fail. It is not going to break. It is going to sit there doing exactly what it was built to do, on a signal built to answer it, and return the same verdict it has always returned, and the verdict is going to be that he meant it. And there will be nothing wrong with the reading. And there will be nothing on the other end of it. So here is the tally, and it is short. Everything I built over 7 years was built for a world in which a true thing, said well enough, eventually crosses. That was the bet. That was the only bet on the table. And I am watching the price of a true thing go to nothing inside my own lifetime, not because anybody attacked it, and not because anybody won an argument against it, but because the supply went infinite, and everything infinite is free, and nothing free has ever carried a person very far. And the part nobody prepares for is that there is no shouting in any of it. Nobody gets shouted down. The rehearsal doesn't get interrupted. It simply runs, and nobody ever opens the doors, and one season you work out why nobody opens them, which is that the seats were carried out years ago and nobody stopped the actors to tell them. Say it back at the volume it is actually delivered at. Not from a tower. Not from a square with a man standing in it. A voice held low and close, the way you speak in a dark house so as not to wake the others, saying the one sentence every person alive has been waiting their whole life to hear, to nobody, forever, at 40,000 an hour. And this is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whisper.